All right, we're back for another Modified Rides podcast. Today, I decided to do a little update on the K5 Blazer I'm building for this year. I've not had a chance to do an individual podcast like this, staying what I'm doing since January. The last few months have been stupid crazy. March took off to Vegas to Adam's shop out there to AMF Garage to do a little work on the Blazer, got it tore apart. Had a work vacation for the wife that we went on. It's been crazy busy. Still trying to do my photo stuff, my detail stuff. Went back out in May for right at 2 weeks to Vegas to work on the Blazer again, stacking up parts, making things happen. So let's kind of dive into what the plans are for the Blazers. For those of you that follow me on social media know, or I should say on my personal pages, on my Braille Images pages, know that there's been a lot of work done to the Blazer. There's been a full teardown process. We completely gutted it. You know, the front when I bought it had Porterbuilt, like an early generation Porterbuilt bag front suspension on it. The rear still had like a 3-inch lift on it. So went through, completely stripped everything. All the interior was stripped, all the molding, the seals, the trim, the windows, the shell come off, the body come off the frame, completely blew apart the frame, just trying to get this thing to a good starting point, which we did. I had a few days, we managed that. Then when I went back out, we actually drove to Arizona from Vegas to pick up all the new Porterbuilt coilover suspension. If you go over to my Braille Images YouTube page, I actually have a video that I recorded with me and Adam. We're on our way back from Porterbuilt, kind of going over some of the stuff at the shop at Porterbuilt, some of the stuff that we'd picked up from them and what the plans were. That gives you a little more in depth, but this podcast is going to kind of do a breakdown. I've been super busy, like I said, gone out of town, gone for shows, gone for photo shoots. It's been hectic. So before I got hectic, I kind of stacked up a few podcasts. I had, I don't know, 7 or 8 or so back to back, already recorded, already in the can, already uploaded, ready to release every week. You know, I try to keep you guys on a Tuesday morning release. I've had a few people, you know, come up to me at some shows and be like, hey, you know, Tuesday mornings, you're the first podcast I hit up, or, you know, on weekends I travel or this and that. And yours one of the first ones I pull up. So I want to start by saying I appreciate you guys that follow along with the podcast, suggest guests, you know, kind of see what the progression of the podcast has been. Truly appreciate it. You know, I still have some shirts that I've had some people pick up, still got plenty of them left. I'll actually be at Battle in Bama and we'll have the shirts there with me. The Maverick will be there in the Beltec suspension booth. So hit me up there if you're, you know, wanting a shirt. I might have a few hats by then. I got to get some new ones done, but like I said, thank you guys for following along with the podcast and, you know, giving your good reviews and sharing it with your friends. And that's the key to this. Share it with your friends. Share it if there's a clip you like that's on social media, Instagram, whatever. Share it, you know, share the actual whole podcast, share the audio version, whatever you like. Word of mouth is how stuff like this grows. You guys want to keep seeing cool content like this, cool guests, that helps me out tremendously, and I can't thank you enough on that. So back to the Blazer. Like I said, I stacked up all the podcasts, so I knew I'd be gone. So I actually just now had a chance to do this update. Well, as of now, as of May 12th, recording this will release May 13th. The Blazer is actually sitting on some Go Jacks at Adam's shop, moved it out of the way to get some other customer stuff knocked out. I plan to go back out in June for a week or two. Hadn't figured out what's what with those plans, kind of waiting on a few more key parts to show up. But as of now, it's got the full suspension done. The frame has been completely shaved. Every hole, every alignment tab, everything that GM had when it rolled off the assembly line has been shaved, welded up, smoothed out. So when the new suspension went on it, it was a complete, clean, fresh slate. It's one of those things most people won't notice, but those you listen to this podcast, when you see it, look underneath it, check it out, realize chassis smooth, slick, ready for powder coat. We have the Porterbuilt front clip on it. We have the temporary mock-up coilovers. I still don't have the Beltec coilovers. It's a new release item, so those are not in hand yet. But if you go through some of the social media stuff under the hashtag K5 Biskit, you'll see we have some temporary, I guess it's 1x box tubing with holes in it. We just cut to what we needed. It gave us the good ride height we needed. Mock-up stuff. Sometimes you don't have all the parts. You got to make it work, and that was perfect for it. The rear, we had to modify a Porterbuilt C10 rear clip. The only thing of their rear clip we didn't use was the frame rails. We used the bridge. We used the 4-link, the coilover mounts, the panhard bar, all that stuff's usable on it. There's an article being put together that I'm doing. Once we get the suspension done, there'll be the article put together. Kind of can't finish it without the final photos, but we took apart the Porterbuilt rear clip, figure out what pieces we needed, what we couldn't use. Their frame rail stuff for the C10 is different than the frame rails for K5. So we knew that wouldn't work, and we also knew that it would come into the floor more than we wanted. We tried to keep the floor notch, the bridge and everything coming through the floor as small as possible, so we don't have a seat jacked up into the roof, or if you sit in the rear seat, you're all hunched over trying to clear the roof. We didn't want that. So many of the bag Blazers, for example, have a raised seat or just a crazy modified seat that's super thin or pushed all the way to the back seats where you can't even physically put your feet, between the front seats and the back seat. But we wanted this thing to be usable. So I got with Snowden Custom Seats. He did some 22-inch seats for the front and did me a custom 42-inch for the rear. The 42-inch will clear perfect because we widen the rear tubs with some AMD 4-inch wider wheel tubs. We took those, cut them down to what we needed. So the rear tubs have been widened 2 inches on each side. And the way we mounted them, I think it was 1.5 inches or 1.75 inches. We raised them to give a little more clearance. That aspect of adding the tubs is going to let me fit a 22x12, which I want to say, I think it was 4 3/4 inch backspace, and we're going to use with a 335, 25, 22 massive tire to be tucked underneath this thing. So we had to do the wheel tubs, but like I said, to get the seat to sit low, we did the Snowden seat, and we're going to mount it to the doghouse there in the back where it covers the frame. But since we couldn't use the Porterbuilt frame rails, we wound up getting with AVS. Tim over at AVS sent us their 8-piece step notch kit. Each side will have inner, outer, a top, and a bottom. So it allowed us to mock up what we needed to get the exact height we needed to clear the axle, weld the inside and outside on, weld the top on, both sides completely sturdy, all welded up, then cut the frame out, weld the bottom in. It's all been smoothed out. Like I said, will look just as good as the rest of the frame once it's powder coated. But luckily with that notch, Porterbuilt bridge fit perfectly in between. So that got added. The sway bar, or not the sway bar, the panhard bar for the rear got welded to the axle. The 4-link brackets got welded to the axle. Usually on the trucks, Porterbuilt recommends a 12.5-inch coilover in the front and a 14.5 in the rear. Well, with us not going so high with the notch, we wound up bumping it down. So now we're going to do 12.5-inch coilovers all the way around. But now you don't have the coilover sticking through the floor. It's even with the top of the notch. Everything's super clean. Did the cover over the notch in the middle. Perfect fitment for the seat. That's going to allow us to, like I said, keep the seat low, to not kill a whole bunch of the floor in the back, but still stuff a big wheel. And that puts the frame around 5 inches off the ground, front to back. That's probably about what most bag guys' ride height is. That's going to be my ride height all the time. Should be right under 5 inches, the whole frame. One thing with the Blazers different than the trucks is when we did the notch, we lost 2 of the body mounts. There's the course support mounts. There's the cab mounts that are underneath, like the door hinges in the front. Then there's right behind the front seats, there's body mounts, and then there's one where the notch is, and then there's another one at the back of the body where the rear bumper and everything mounts to mount the whole Blazer tub down. Well, we lost two of the body mounts. Well, Adam's going back in and adding new body mounts, which with the bridge and the notch and everything, got plenty of room to add that back in. Still use the factory. Actually, it's not the factory like the OEM ones. It's the aftermarket. We got the energy suspension body mounts. It'll let us put those back just like it was stock. So there's no loss of body support there. So all that's done. We set the body back on, made sure everything cut to fit. We had a couple of rust spots in the front that the like with the driver hill set, we got with AMD, welded those up. Adam went through and cut out the rust, welded new floor pans in. Once again, there's little variations from the Blazer to the C10. So the C10 floor pans worked for about 99% of it. There was a little modification to make things work, but that's done. We've got where the 3-hole mirrors were on each door, got those shaved up, got those ready to get blended back in to look like the factory patina paint. We're going to have Ryan Evans go through and make that look like those holes were never there. Also thinking on the 4-wheel drive and 2-wheel drive stuff being different on these and stuff being different from the C10s. My Blazer was a 4-wheel drive to begin with, so we did the 2-wheel drive conversion. 4-wheel drives were just easier to find. Got such a good deal on it. It was worth it to do that. Well, everybody's like, oh, the 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive chassis are the same. Nope. Found several things that were different. Like the core support, for example, the mounting brackets were not the same on the 2-wheel drive as they were the 4-wheel drive. So we just welded up all the holes. Sorry, I didn't weld them up. I'm not a welder. It's where I had Adam weld them up and drill new holes, get the core support and everything in with the new Porterbuilt core support. Super excited on how all the suspension stuff come about. Like I said, we got that done. Got the Heart Fab tubs mocked up in the front. If you guys go listen to the last episode before this one, I had Josh Hart on that sent the tubs and the firewall shave panels. Josh makes a killer product. There's several companies that make some stuff for these vehicles, like the wheel tubs. You got Slosh tubs, you got Heart Fab, you got, what was it, GMSS or whatever it is. I decided to go with Heart Fab. I wanted the metal bead roll look. The other stuff looks good, but my goal for this, I wanted the look that Heart Fab had, so that's where we went that. So go check out the last episode. I'm used to dealing with magazine stuff my whole life. The last episode, and check out what Josh Hart had to say and some of the stuff he's been into on creating the company he's got. So all that stuff was mocked up. Finally got to see the front fenders on, because when I bought the vehicle, the fenders, the hood, the core support, engine, all that stuff was stripped. You know, we rolled back the Blazer over to Adams, and he went with the trailer and picked up all the loose parts. So that was the first time either one of us had seen the front end put back together on this thing. And we found out it's the first time it's been back together in right over 8 years. So seeing it together, seeing how the patina flowed on it, I knew immediately, like, this is something that's going to be perfect, exactly what I want. So we got that done. There's a bunch of little stuff we did. You know, when we tore everything apart, you know, we figured out what needed to be painted, what needed to be powder coated, what colors are going where. There was a lot of that, which is a lot of these projects, trying to figure out what factors can go where to make it unique, to make it stand out, to make it still a high caliber without going crazy. Well, luckily, I've got, I want to say it's 42 companies backing me right now, tons of industry top companies. If you go through some of the stuff on my social media, my YouTube, I've got a breakdown on some of, my Burrell Images social media and the YouTube, not the podcast pages. I have a lot of breakdowns, some of the stuff I'm doing, done some videos for like Willwood, Poppy's Patina, AVS, AMD. You know, there's a lot of these parts that that we're putting together to make things work. Well, Adam's been working on some stuff, got the firewall all shaved up. Like I said, got those floor pans and stuff done while I wasn't there. I was trying to get a couple other customers' jobs done while mine's at kind of a holding stage. We should have the engine back from the engine builder in a week or so. Now, we could have taken the engine. It was a pull out of what was it, a 2021 Camaro SS is LT1 engine trans computer and all that. We could have pulled it out and just thrown it in as is, but I knew I wanted something a little more. We did the DOD AFM delete, so it'll no longer drop down to 4 cylinders on the highway. We did the comp cams stage 1 cam in it. We did the new oil pan that I picked up from Porterbuilt. That clears their front drop member. It makes sure it don't hang down below the any of the suspension stuff. Won't have to worry about busting an oil pan on a speed bump or some big dip in the road or driveway or something. They were putting that on, putting all the Edelbrock and comp cam parts in it and stuff. Had to get a couple of new parts, like the throttle body is broke when they pulled the engine out, chain slipped, so got a new throttle body, stuff like that. The engine guy's doing that. We should have it back within the next week or so. Once that comes back, I've got the PSI harness going on. They did a full, loomed harness, got rid of all the smog stuff that we no longer need, being it's not a brand new vehicle. All plug and play harness. They reflashed the ECU and the TCU for the transmission. So now it's ready to go. It's a startup tune. Then once we get it all together and driving, then we'll go get a dyno tune on it and really get it dialed in. Once we get that engine in, we're going to see if we have to trim any of the transmission tunnel. And once that's done, the body immediately comes back off. We're taking it over to Ryan Evans, and we're going to have it gloss cleared, completely blow the rest of it apart. So the door's already off. So I think the only thing else we got to take off is the tailgate. It's the only thing we've not unbolted from it yet, but we'll do full gloss clear on it on top of all the patina. We will be making all the touch-up stuff we had to do look original, like it's almost 50 years old. So the exterior will still be that. Got to PDR a couple things just to kind of clean it up some. My OCD won't let me do it without having it clean. And while Ryan's doing that, old Ghetto Bob's going to mock up all the interior stuff, figure out what's what. Well, I guess before it goes to him, we've got the new AMD sound deadening going in it. We've got the painless wiring harness going in it. There's a few other pieces we have to figure out what's what before Bob starts mocking stuff up. We have a ton of Memphis stuff coming. We got one of their Mojo 12s going in it, some 6.5s going in it, a couple amps. Nothing crazy. I know I've had some bigger stereo stuff with some of my builds, like the Subaru had the 2 Mojo 12s. It would flex the roof, flex the doors. This, I just wanted something simple, clean, not over the top. It's a classic vehicle. You really don't need a stereo vehicle out of a classic vehicle, but I wanted something that not only brought the looks in, but would add a little sound cruising, because this thing's going to be a driver. I've got the Sony 10.1 inch screen going in it, so I'll actually have CarPlay. Everything else in it will be, will still be classic looking. I've already got the Snowden seats are already in. Like, so we already test fit the rear seat, all Apex leather wrapped on them. So the door panels, the rear panels, the trim panels, all that stuff will all be leather. Speaking of door panels, though, I've got some new ones coming from MTI, linked up with Chris over at MTI, and getting a couple of their square body door panels. They're going to send them raw. So when Bob wraps all the Apex leather on everything, he'll wrap those to match. Everything will be, fresh on that. Trying to bring a little bit of modern into this classic vehicle, something I can have comfort in driving, reliability in driving, something that would be enjoyable, I guess you would say. Like I said, go out in June. We're going to try to get the body stuff done, the interior stuff mocked up. Once we get the final stuff figured out with the frame, we're going to get those 2 body mounts on, that make sure the engine fits, everything clears, all that stuff's good. And once it's mocked up back together, so we know that the chassis is good while the body's being done, we'll have it on a body cart. So it won't even be with the chassis. We will send the chassis off, or actually blow it apart, send it off to sandblasting, linked up with Tiger coatings. We're going to do an antique bronze coating on the entire chassis, the 4 9-inch rear end, uh, and a few of the main pieces, but all the bolt-on pieces, control arms, 4-link, springs, panhard bar, core support bracket, probably the battery brackets in the rear. All those will be teal to match the wheelwood calipers. That's going to be my accent color. Going to add some teal into the AMD side molding. So thinking the side molding, I'd actually bought Marquet trim. They have a Blazer specific kit. Bought that. 10 days later, they shut the company down. First time I've personally dealt with that. I'm 10 days after I've paid them $2,600 for their molding, and they shut the company down. I've filed the discrepancy with my credit card. Don't know if I ever get it back or not. But fortunately, Jason and Eddie and the guys over at AMD were like, hey, our square body truck stuff works. I was back and forth with Jason when I was doing his podcast. If you hadn't checked that out, go back a couple episodes ago and check out Jason Chandler's, the marketing director, marketing coordinator, whatever his official title was at Autometal Direct. He has a breakdown on what they do. But while I was down there filming that, got with him, and he said, our truck kit would fit. There's a little bit of modification. If you're willing to do the modification, it'll work. So I have that. Actually should be at the shop by the time you're watching this or listening to this. A little bit of modification to make that work. Going to have all new AMD molding. Looking forward to getting that on to really tie the exterior together, because I've got the AMD bumpers and the grill. All the exterior bright work going on it is from AMD. But like I said, this next trip in June, we'll get all that done. I'd love to go out now, but Adam's got some stuff he's working on his end. I'm completely covered up trying to play catch up on automotive detailing. So any of you guys that are local or semi-local, want your vehicle detailed, paint corrected, coated, come see me. Get with me. That's what I'm doing when I'm not doing photos. So I'm not sure how many listeners that I'm not personally friends with knew that's what I did, but that's the goal for May, is to get caught up on my list. I've stacked up quite a few people on my waiting list with being gone, and a bunch of Mecum photos and magazine shoots and that kind of stuff. So trying to get caught up in May, and then we'll be at Battle in Bama, NMA, like I said earlier, in the Beltec booth. I'll have my portable podcast set up there. If it's something you want to sit down, discuss your shop, your company, some of the cool stuff you've built, hit me up. Let's get together. Let's set up at the show, record at the show, hotel, wherever. We'll find somewhere quiet to sit down and record. I'd love to link up with more of my listeners and followers or whatnot, and kind of get their stories. But I do have some cool people lined up in the next few days to record with. I've got Brant from Graphic Disorder. I've got Miles Kovac that started Dub Magazine, runs TIS Wheels. He's heavily tied to the industry. I have him coming on. I've got the guys from PSI Conversions, which is who handled all my wire and harness. We're going to do a breakdown on kind of how they got into doing the wire and harness business, where it's going, and kind of what all they do. They provide a killer plug and play product for LS swaps, LT swaps, tons of other stuff. So they got them coming on. Got one of the guys from Edelbrock coming on to discuss how that side of the industry works. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, all the stuff to your favorite audio podcast app or YouTube. Both of us, make sure you follow us on social media, and we're on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not as active as I should be. I stay so covered up with everything else. I honestly forget to post on some stuff. I'll post on like my Braille Images page and go, shoot, I need to do the podcast stuff. Or I'll post on that and go, oh, shoot, I need to post on this. But share the stuff, guys. That really helps me out a lot. Like I said, I just wanted to come on to a brief update on what we're looking at with the Blazer. Oh, and the Blazer will be in the TIS Wheels booth this year at SEMA. That is where the Tahoe was last year. The Sierra was the year before. The Ram was in 2021. And my blue truck, the first one in 2014, is where it was. It's where the Subaru was the first time. Same booth that Chris's Tundra was in 17 that we got there. So really work well with those guys. Looking forward to the custom set of 22s they're going to build for me. That's the plan with it. I'll keep you guys updated. I might throw a couple extra update podcasts between now and then. But until then, hope you guys enjoy. Appreciate you guys listening, and we'll catch you next week.